primary and secondary. When you say primary, it means it has come early in plant life. When you say it is secondary, it has come late in plant life. Okay. Yes, sir? मतलब I want to ask a question. Please stand up. ऐसा उसका मतलब होता है. हाँ, right? Students have lost common courtesy here. मतलब if I'm asking yes sir, हाँ बोलो बोलो. Attitude ऐसा हो गया. हाँ बोल क्या पूछता बोल ऐसा. Okay. What do you mean by primary growth and secondary growth?
So primary growth means vertical growth and secondary growth means horizontal growth.
Horizontal, right? Increase in width or girth is called as secondary growth. So secondary meristems or lateral meristems are responsible for secondary growth. So good, great, very nice. Yes, ma'am. Yourself. What are types of permanent? So what is permanent? First of all, what is permanent? We know. What are types of permanent?
There are two criteria, simple and complex.
Simple and complex, okay.
Simple we have parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Complex we have xylem and phloem.
Yes, you have xylem and phloem. We have finished till parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Right? Parenchyma, living tissue mainly for storage of food. Collenchyma, living tissue for mechanical strength but of the elastic type, flexible types, and sclerenchyma, dead tissue, two types, fiber and flexible. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I had a doubt in our yellow book. It is mentioned that the pulp of fruits like guava, pear, and sapoda they contain sclerenchyma. So how would you explain that?
Because sometimes when you cut these fruits, it is very tough in nature. It's very hard. So that's scleretes. Yeah, sometimes even that is tough. Right now, the consistency of the sclerete will be different in different tissues. It's not be the same kind of consistency.
Some are hard, whereas
Yes. Yes, please.
Sir, in collenchyma there is a line, sir. It is found in homogeneous layers.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Very same layer. It does along with other cells. एक साथ आएगा वो. जी. Now we have to start with the complex tissue.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
collenchyma में लिखा है that they assimilate food when they contain food.
Obviously,
Assimilate food when they store.
prepare. जैसे जैसे मतलब बैच आगे बढ़ते जाता है, हर साल में नया बैच आता है, तो कभी कभी मुझे लगता है कि along with biology I have to teach English also. I'm no jokes really. The standard of English is going down pretty fast in schools. मतलब I don't know why, but happens. And you ask them what you've studied. Oh, we've studied Merchant of Venice, sir. Okay. I feel taking your pound of flesh. Okay, chalo. Now, permanent tissues are of two types, simple and complex. Simple when they are made up of the same type of cells as in case of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Complex when they are made up of different types of cells as in case of xylem and phloem. Now before we do xylem and phloem, just would like to give you a small reminder for the classification of plants. When we did this in the first lecture when we met, right, plants are classified as flowering, non-flowering, right, cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptogams are non-flowering, phanerogams are the flowering. Cryptogams are further classified as vascular and non-vascular. The non-vascular are Thallophyta and Bryophyta. That means Thallophyta and Bryophyta do not have xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem are present in only three groups of plants. pteridophyta, gymnosperm and angiosperm. So our topic now for today is xylem and phloem. That means the plants under consideration today would be only three groups of plants: pteridophyta, gymno and angio. In line of evolution, pteridophytes would be the most earliest amongst these three obviously. उसके बाद आएंगे gymno and last in evolution would be angio. So if these three groups of plants are for consideration in our discussion today with respect to xylem and phloem, and I want to classify them into two: lower plants and higher plants. So when I use lower plants, I am implying pteridophytes and gymnosperms. And when I say higher plants, it is implying angiosperms. So let's make that very clear. So pteridophytes and gymnosperms and angiosperms. So we have to learn, we have to understand xylem and phloem from the point of view of evolution. Okay, what kind of a xylem phloem would be present in the lower plants and what kind of a xylem phloem would be present in the higher plants. Xylem and phloem first would have appeared in which plants? Pteridophytes, right? And so would you expect a very primitive type of a xylem phloem in its initial stages? And gradually as time passed, the structure of xylem and phloem would slowly start becoming a little more advanced. And the most advanced and the most conductive form of xylem phloem would be present in angiosperms. So अगर ये primitive है pteridophytes और ये सबसे, तो उनके structure में भी difference तो होना चाहिए, isn't it? So we would try to learn what is the difference between their structure also. So the discussion of xylem phloem is a little different from what the previous tissues that we've done. It is from the aspect of कौन से प्लांट में कैसा है, that types. Okay. Complex tissue made up of different types. Xylem and phloem are complex tissues. Complex tissue is defined as a group of different types of cells. Normally a tissue का definition has got same type or similar type of cells. So this is what is Hatke, that is performing a common function. Now, complex tissue is a heterogeneous unit working as a single unit. इसका मतलब, now see the table. Can you see that xylem is made up of 4 different types of cells? And so is phloem also made up of these different kinds of cells. Each individual cell has its own function, but collectively they are functioning as one unit, hence called as a tissue. Collectively they are functioning to perform a common function. So when I ask you what is the function of xylem, array sir, conduction of water sir, that is a common function. What is function of phloem? Sir, it is conducting food. लेकिन phloem के अंदर उसके individual ingredient cells अलग हैं, जिसमें phloem fiber का काम थोड़ा अलग होगा, phloem parenchyma का काम अलग रहेगा. बात समझ में आ रही कि नहीं? यानी सबका काम कंडक्शन नहीं है, लेकिन सब मिलके कंडक्ट कर रहे हैं. So they are functioning as one unit. They are performing a common function, but individual cells can have their own functions also. But the focus is always towards performing the common function. So it is a heterogeneous tissue, obviously made up of different type of cells. So it is a heterogeneous. So if this is heterogeneous, what do we call the simple ones? Homogeneous. Now coming to xylem. Now xylem is also called as wood. Xylem tissue is also called as wood. The phloem is called as bast. There are different terms for xylem and phloem. Now xylem has 4 different types of cells. Towards the bottom. xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. Fibers means sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma two types, na? Fibers and sclerenchyma. So here fiber means xylem sclerenchyma. Now out of the four, see, if for me to label xylem as a living tissue or a dead tissue is difficult. Parenchyma में बहुत simple था, सारे के सारे cells में nucleus है, so it's a living tissue. Sclerenchyma also it was very simple, no nucleus, no cytoplasm, so very sure it is a dead tissue. But यहाँ पर I have to be sure about the individual ingredients also. हाँ, I can know ये fiber है, ये sclerenchyma है, so this has to be dead. This is parenchyma, this has got nucleus, so it has to be living. So I know about at least these two. ये dead है, ये living है. But I am still not sure about these two also. Right? Tracheids and vessels. So let us take up individually all the four types of cells and then collectively come to a conclusion for xylem. Xylem functions as a conducting tissue for water and minerals. Water and minerals के लिए अगर मुझे एक word चाहिए तो sap. From roots to the stem and leaves. It also provides mechanical strength. I told you xylem is called as wood. It also provides mechanical strength. The xylem in its structure shows sclerenchyma. So can that contribute to providing mechanical strength to the plant now? Okay. Xylem is made up of four different kinds of elements, namely tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers and xylem pan. I am not worried about xylem fiber, वो तो proper sclerenchyma है. Xylem parenchyma तो storage वोरेज ही करेगा और तो कुछ काम है नहीं उसका. बेचारे को और कुछ तो आता है नहीं. ठीक है? So our main focus is on tracheids and vessels. I said that when we start from gymno, structure कैसा रहेगा? Primitive रहेगा. The टूटा फूटा types एकदम simple. Right? The structure of xylem starts with tracheids. So pteridophytes and gymnosperms are blessed with tracheids. The conducting structure in a pteridophyte and gymnosperm is a tracheid. The advanced version of a tracheid is a vessel. So angiosperms have got vessels. The angiosperms have got vessels. So both are actually the same conducting. ये थोड़ा primitive है और ये थोड़ा advanced. So vessels are completely absent in lower group of plants. So when you start from a pterido, the conducting vessel is a tracheid, right? Gymno में the conducting vessel is still a tracheid, but as gymno progresses to become angio, the tracheids are gradually replaced by vessels. So in angiosperm, you would find tracheids, but very less amount of tracheids. The majority would be vessels. See how this is showing evolution in plants now. यानी ऐसा नहीं है कि कल से नया एंजियोस्पर्म आएगा तो आज ट्रकीड बंद, कल से वेसल्स. No, no. The gradual replacement, tracheids are being replaced by vessels. Now just to make myself or my point a little more clear, if I look at least a 50-100 years down the line, what would happen to the number of tracheids? Still less. Vessels becoming more. So at one point of time, ऐसा time आएगा कि जहां पर angiosperms है, all the tracheids will be lost, and you will have only vessels now. So the presence of the tracheid in an angiosperm is indicative of its link to the previous group of plants. To the previous group of plants now. That's why अपना xylem phloem का discussion is from a different point of view now. So The main conducting vessels in pterido and gymno would be tracheids, and the main conducting vessel in an angio would be a vessel. Now, how to differentiate between the structure of a tracheid and a vessel? Let's do that now. Now, on the top we have two diagrams, tracheid and a vessel for ear. Both of them you can keep on comparing. Tracheid is elongated or tube-like cell with thick, lignified and tapering ends, dead without protoplasm. मिल गया आंसर? तो ऊपर जाके D या L लिख देना आपके लिस्ट में. राइट? ट्रकीड्स क्या है अभी? डेड. और वेसल तो उसका एडवांस्ड वर्जन है, मतलब वो भी क्या होगा? डेड ही होगा. वो भी डेड होगा ना. तो अब ट्रकीड डेड, वेसल डेड, जाइलम स्क्लेरेनकाइमा डेड, जाइलम पैरेन्काइमा लिविंग. यानी टोटल 4 टाइप ऑफ सेल में से 3 आर डेड, 1 इज लिविंग. सो ओवरऑल जाइलम इज एक्चुअली अ डेड टिश्यू except the parenchyma, because we see absence of protoplasm. So elongated tube-like with thick, lignified and tapering ends. The key here is tapering end. Look at the diagram. Can you see the tracheid having a tapering end now? It is pointed at both the ends now. The key is tapering end. Now, a structure which has a tapering end. Inner layers of the cell walls have thickenings. Now, the second part of the diagram, if you see right hand side of the diagram, can you see the different patterns of thickenings which have been shown inside the cell? So you can have a ring-like thickening, you can have a spiral thickening like the DNA, helical बोल सकते हैं उसको, scalariform ladder-like thickening है. The last two ones, can you see bordered or pitted दिखा वहाँ पे? Those are the most advanced type of thickenings. The pitted is the most advanced type of thickening. Angiosperms, they show pitted thickenings, if present in them, otherwise not. Along with vessels, they are the main water transporting elements in flowering plants, the tracheids. And where are the tracheids? Are the tracheids present in both group of plants?
No.
Yes. I tell you, tracheids are less in angiosperms. है, लेकिन अब धीरे धीरे क्या होता है, कम होते जा रहे हैं. Vessels are also called tracheae. Don't get lost and confused. ये tracheid है, ये tracheae है, trachea नहीं है. Please, right? I may sound a little stupid on mentioning so, but these are the stupid mistakes which I get from students and I pass it on back to the next batch. कि तुम्हारे पिछले वाले बैच में ये हो चुका है. हाँ, ये एक्सपीरियंस मैं खुद घर से नहीं लाया हूँ. They are called as tracheae. Long cylindrical tube. The key word is cylindrical. That was tapering. This is cylindrical. I'll make a difference between the two here. This should be now cylindrical. है ना? So, are we having a different structure now?
Yes.
Now, when I am thinking of these two structures as conduction mechanisms, conducting through a tapering end and a bigger area will make a huge amount of difference now. So, where is the conduction going to be more better now? In a vessel. It's going to be more better in a vessel. जगह ज़्यादा available है यहाँ पे. It is made up of many cells called vessel members. Now this is another area where students make a lot of mistakes. A vessel is made up of units called vessel members. Vessel is a unit, it's a structure made up of units called as vessel members with lignified walls and a large central cavity. Obviously devoid of protoplasm. Protoplasm is absent, so it is dead. Vessel members are interconnected through perforations in their. Let's say, for example, this is one vessel. Is it cylindrical? Yes. This is a cylindrical structure. This is another vessel member. Let's say for example, this is also cylindrical. So are we having a vessel upon a vessel now? So does this become their common wall now? These two become their common walls attaching each other. So you will have perforations in this wall and perforations in this wall. So if both are perforated, then can you have conduction through those perforations in the upward direction? Please. How water is getting transported is not a matter of discussion here. Question दिमाग में आता ही है, सर xylem water absorption route से हुआ. So it has to move in the upward direction. So your movement of water has to happen against gravity. And when we have tall trees, so obviously the question starts forming, say इतने नीचे ऊपर to push something from downwards in the upward direction would require a lot amount of pressure. That is what you get in transport of plants chapter in plant physiology. Our focus is not physiology in the chapter. Our focus is only anatomy. We are just concerned with the structures involved. The how is not a question here, please. Those questions will be answered when you do that chapter of transport in plants. Presence of vessels is a feature of angiosperms only. Can you see vessels are absent in pteridophytes and gymnosperms? They are exclusively present only and only in gymnosperms. Gymnosperm lack vessels in their xylem. Xylem fibers. Obviously fiber is sclerenchyma. Highly thickened walls and obliterated, very small central lumen. Right? Obliterated is reduced. They may either be septate or aseptate. Septas are partitions inside. So they could have partitions or they could not have partitions. Depends. Xylem parenchyma, obviously living cells. Thin walled cell walls are made up of cellulose. You study the structure of parenchyma. Stores, right? Parenchyma ka sabse important function is storage. Stores food materials in the form of starch, fat, other substances like tannins. The radial conduction of water takes place by ray parenchymatous cells. In the last question today's DCD, did you have a structure called as medullary ray? So those are parenchymatous and they are the ones who radiate, go towards the outside. Xylem is towards the up. So there are ray parenchymatous जो उसको radial direction में भी water supply करेगा. So those are ray parenchymatous. मालूम होना चाहिए, ज़्यादा important नहीं है. जी please.
Sir, in the above line of septate and aseptate, does that refer to the word bits of like?
No. It is just partition.
What is the difference between protoplasm and protoplasm?
Same.
The xylem fibers are all scleral, right?
Yes. Okay. Now, an important point, please. I have to delete this. Delete me. Erase this.
Sir,
Half the day you're working on laptop. Happens. G.
parenchyma का second point में tannins का
Tannins, they are substances, जैसे starch substance है वैसे tannin substance और कुछ नहीं. Okay. Now when xylem starts developing in a plant, the xylem, according to development, is of two types. We have the primary xylem and the secondary xylem. Now, do the terms primary and secondary have any meaning with us? Yes. So, the earliest part of xylem would be primary. The one which comes later on would be secondary. ठीक है? Primary xylem right? Secondary xylem will come at the time of secondary growth. What is secondary growth? Horizontal, width wala growth. In fact, 90 to 95% of the width of the plant is because of secondary xylem. is the main reason for the width of the plant, secondary xylem. बट यहां पर अपना जो टॉपिक ऑफ कंसर्न है वो प्राइमरी xylem है, when the xylem is starting to develop. Now primary xylem is of two types. Two types नहीं बोल सकते, it develops in two stages. The early part of primary xylem, primary xylem नहीं, the early part of primary xylem, the initial part of primary xylem which is developing is called as protoxylem, and the later part which develops is called as metaxylem. So the entire primary xylem is made up of protoxylem and metaxylem. The cells of protoxylem are small. The cells of metaxylem are large. The cells, they develop early and these they come up late. Now if this is epidermis, epidermis के नीचे तुम्हारा वही सब hypodermis, right, cortex, medullary rays, pith and all that. We come to the central part, right, where the xylem and phloem are situated. ठीक है? Now I want to make one xylem here. अब ये पेरिफेरल पार्ट है, थिकनेस में तो तुम्हारा क्या आएगा, सेकेंडरी xylem. प्राइमरी xylem यहाँ पर है, जो मेन कंडक्टिंग वाला xylem जो है यहाँ पर है. Now यहाँ पर the xylem can be arranged in two ways. Either the primary xylem, sorry, the protoxylem could be towards the periphery. Can you see the smaller ones? Are the smaller ones towards the periphery? Right now. Or can you see दोनों उल्टा हो गया अभी? यहाँ पर the smaller ones, the proto is towards the center, and here the smaller ones, the proto is towards the periphery. आउटर साइड पे है, ठीक है. सो ये जो है वो प्रोटो है और यही प्रोटो अंदर है अभी, और ये जो बड़ा वाला है वो मेटा है जो बाहर है यहाँ पर. सो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर द पोजिशन ऑफ प्रोटोजाइलम इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इन केस द प्रोटोजाइलम इज टुवर्ड्स द आउटसाइड, in this case, is everybody able to see the board? Everybody understanding what I am trying to say? Please, if protoxylem is towards the periphery, ये पूरे xylem को I will say it is an exarch xylem. Exarch xylem. Understand? लिखने पे फोकस मत करो, समझने पे फोकस करो प्लीज. नोट्स में सब कुछ दिया हुआ है. In case the protoxylem is towards the center, such a xylem is called as an endarch xylem. When we go to 6.3, anatomy पढ़ेंगे ना कि डाइकॉट रूट से दिखता कैसे है, डाइकॉट स्टेम दिखता कैसे है, वो लोग सिर्फ मेंशन करेंगे xylem is exarch endarch, वो आगे निकल जाएंगे. फिर अपने सर पे क्वेश्चन मार्क, what is exarch and what is endarch? So exarch and endarch are defined by the position of protoxylem. Protoxylem outside, exarch. Protoxylem inside, endarch. Now, the last and the most important point. Roots have an exarch xylem. Stem have an endarch xylem. Please, if you are given a ट्रांसफर सेक्शन, यू डोंट नो रूट का है या स्टेम का है, पता नहीं. सो व्हेन यू प्लेस इट अंडर द माइक्रोस्कोप ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ पोजीशन ऑफ प्रोटोजाइलम, कैन यू टेल वेदर दिस इज अ रूट और स्टेम? कैन यू सी हाउ इट हेल्प्स यू टू डिफरेंशिएट नाउ? सो इफ the protoxylem is towards the periphery. अच्छा ये exarch है मतलब ये ट्रांसफर किसका है? ये रूट का है, और अगर endarch है तो ये stem का है, सीधा सीधा. So when we do monocot root, dicot root, वहां पर mention रहेगा root of xylem is exarch, stem में आएगा xylem is endarch. Are you clear what is? So this is only with respect to protoxylem, not with respect to metaxylem, please. So no confusions here, please. I was given this in notes also. देखो यहाँ पे. On the basis of development, primary xylem is divided into two parts. So on the basis we have primary and secondary. Secondary will come late. With talk is of only primary only here. Proto, the cells are small and formed earlier. Meta, cells are larger and formed later. In stems, the protoxylem lies towards the center, which is called pith, यानी अंदर की तरफ, and the metaxylem lies towards the periphery. This type of primary xylem is called endarch. And the roots, the protoxylem lies towards the periphery and metaxylem lies towards the center. Such arrangement is called as exarch. Now my question is, ये clear है ना आपको? Now my question is, will the position of protoxylem help us to differentiate between a root and stem? Yes or no?
Yes.
ठीक है. My question number 2, will the position of protoxylem help me to differentiate between a monocot root and a dicot root? No. कोई भी root हो, xylem will be exarch. कोई भी stem हो, xylem will be endarch. So this is only helping us to differentiate between root and stem. ठीक है ना? So अब तक हम लोग morphologically we used to differentiate root and stem. Root and stem. Stem पे nodes and internodes are present. Root पे nodes and internodes are absent. Root has got root hair, stem has got stem hair. Root hair are unicellular, stem hair are multicellular. बराबर ना? ये difference है ना? Now अब एक anatomical difference आ गया. Xylem is exarch in case of roots, xylem is endarch in case of stem. Are we clear with this one point? कि primary xylem का differentiation into proto and meta, position of proto helps us to define the type of xylem. Is it an exarch xylem or an endarch xylem? Exarch xylem मतलब protoplasm towards the periphery. We find this xylem in case of all the roots. Endarch xylem means protoxylem is towards the center. We find this case in all the stems. Is this point very clear? Please tell everybody. Yes, sir.
There are advantageous roots, that also will be exarch or thing. The advantage.
When we come to monocot, dicot, that time we'll see. Anatomy पे नहीं आया हम अभी तक. ठीक है? Okay. Coming to phloem. Bast. It's called as bast. Xylem is called wood. The phloem is called as the bast. You're not comfortable with it? ऐसा better है? ऐसा better है. Suits you. मुझे क्या प्रॉब्लम है? ठीक है. Okay. Phloem. Now phloem transports food materials from leaves to other parts. Yes, please. Phloem in angiosperms is made up of sieve tube elements, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. नहीं, वहां पर ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है फिल इन करना. I said we are studying this from an evolutionary aspect. So that table is more important to fill in. So fiber तो I know, sclerenchyma and parenchyma also भी पता है अपने को. Okay. The pteridophytes and gymnosperms show presence of sieve cells, whereas the angiosperms, they show presence of sieve tubes. Right? When we say phloem is made up of sieve cells and sieve tubes, nahi. Sieve cells or sieve tubes. So sieve cells in case of which group of plants? Pteridophytes, lower group of plants. And sieve tubes in case of higher group of plants. Okay. Now, sieve cell or sieve tube. Okay, please. We'll come to the structure in a moment. But sieve cell and a sieve tube. The sieve cell has a nucleus and cytoplasm.